Well, we've made it to the end of the book of Joshua. The land has been taken. Most of the inhabitants have been run off or killed. Not all of them, like we've said. And Joshua is now old. And chapters 22 and 23 and 24 are really Joshua's farewell. One of the last things he does in chapter 22 is he sends the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh back to the eastern side of the River Jordan. Remember, when they first came into the land, they had begged Moses to let them stay on that side, and Moses allowed them to do that. But he said, you have to go into the land, and you have to help the rest of your brothers fight and clean out the land and make room for them. And so what we find is Joshua is being very complimentary to him. He says, you have done a great job. You've done everything we've asked you to do. You have stayed. You have not complained. You've fought hard. He says, now it's time for you to go back. He says an interesting thing. He says, take your great wealth with you. You see, like we talked about before, God wants them to have the wealth. He's building up his nation so that they will be prosperous. They're in the, quote, land of milk and honey, quote. So anyway, he sends them back. Now, there's a very bizarre story that happens almost immediately upon going back. They build up this big altar. And the rest of the tribes on the western side of the Jordan hear about it, and they're strapping their swords back on, and they're going to go kill them all. And so they send a delegation over to them to find out, what have you done? And there's this long conversation that said, you can't do that. Remember how we had problems back while we were wandering in the desert, and how we were intermarrying with other people and we were serving other gods. And he says, you can't do this. The people have the Reubenites, Gadites, and half tribe of Manasseh say, if we are trying to serve another god, then take us out right now. He said, that's not what we're trying to do. And they have an interesting conversation about the fact that they do want to come back across the river. They do want to offer sacrifices with the rest of the nation of Israel. They don't want the rest of the nation to forget them, which is why they've built this up. They're not planning on using it. They're displaying it as a remembrance that where they are going to worship the Lord is going to be with the rest of the Israelites at the tabernacle, which is very interesting. Everybody's happy. Everybody goes home satisfied. Chapters 23 and 24, Joshua is actually having his farewell address. And he says some things that we've heard him say before. He says, don't forget the Lord your God. Don't forget his rules, his commands. He says, remember to worship him and him only. Don't get intermingled with these other gods. He also says, if you do and you start intermarrying with the other people, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. And he says, don't do that. Remember to keep yourself pure. And finally, he has that passage that we all know so well, where he says, choose for yourself this day who you will serve. He said, but as for me and my family, and you know the rest of that. Enjoy the end of the book of Joshua, and tomorrow, or next week, tomorrow, we'll be getting into the book of Judges. I hope you have enjoyed the reading so far. May God bless you.